Greetings, gaming historians, and welcome to Lord of Lore, where we break down the lore and history of our favorite video games and fantasies. And today, we're returning to the world of Amalur to study one of the most prominent but rarely discussed topics in the Game of Reckoning, and that is the gods of Amalur. From the stoic Mitharu to the mischievous Lupoku, the gods of Amalur have a major impact on the cultures, religions, and magics of Amalur. But who are these gods, and what role do they have in the world? Are they the ultimate power in the universe? In today's video, we're going to talk about the gods and their relationship with the mortal world. Without further ado, let's discuss. The player first comes into contact with the gods of Amalur in the character creation screen. While they are editing their character, they will also need to select a patron god that will have an effect on their overall stats. Interestingly, different gods are limited based on what race is chosen, hinting at their relationship with the different cultures present in the Feylands. Once the adventure begins, the Fateless One will also find many shrines scattered about the world that give them temporary boosts to their abilities. But the gods of Amalur are far from simply a gameplay mechanic. Whether it's in dialogue, lore stones, books, or even cults and ruined temples, the gods clearly have a major impact on the mortals that occupy the physical world. So, the first question we need to answer is this: who are the patron gods? To begin, we need to clarify that the patron gods worshipped by elves, men, and mortals are not the only deities in the world of Amalur, as some races will worship their own pantheon, such as the Colossi and the Titans. Even more interesting, even races like men and elves do not agree on their pantheons, as many races only worship a select few of the patron gods rather than all of them. Regardless, let's go over the list of patron gods accepted by the major races of the Feylands. The first god, and perhaps the most prominent, is the god of order, Mitharu. Associated with order, stability, and even creation, Mitharu is considered the sworn enemy of chaos in the Niskaru, and his first followers were the great and powerful Arathi that first ruled the world. Even after the Arathi's disappearance, many races like the Losofar and Gnomes continued to worship Mitharu, but none worshipped him more than the human Mitharans and their late sister tribe, the Almain. Mitharu is the main focus of all the Almain's religion and social structures, with the cult of Mitharu in the capital city of Valiance being one of the most powerful orders in the kingdom, as well as the power behind the Almain's religious and magical endeavors. The next patron god is Enadon, the goddess of justice. The main deity of the Losofar, Enadon is considered the dark arm of justice, the watcher who punishes the guilty and rewards the vigilant. It is in her name the justiciars of Glensuthane establish law and order in the icy wilds of Ferrol, and her influence can even be felt beyond the Losofar homeland. Next, we have Lyria, the goddess of fate and magic, the most revered deity of the Dakelfar. While the Losofar respect magic as a means to an end, the Dakelfar idolize magic for magic's sake, forever worshipping Lyria in their eternal pursuit of the most powerful magics. It is in her name that Bailin Tirin wandered to Rathir and led the Dakelfar to secede from their icy cousins. In addition, Lyria is associated with starlight and crystals, so much of Dakelfar history was spent in the night sky or in Rathir's crystalline tunnels, giving the Dakelfar their gray skin colors. Another prominent, albeit disturbing, patron god is Bailin, God of Death. Though most people respect Bailin as the natural end of things, some cults, particularly Bailin's Testament, revere the death god so much that they have sworn themselves to killing all the mortals that they can. Next is Njordr, god of waters and sailing. While the Varani are a superstitious lot that worship many gods, spirits, and charms, Varani sailors always make sure to give a quick prayer to Njordr for safe sailing. Athene is the goddess of wisdom, and it is in her name the Colossi rose above their savage kin to become the mighty empire that they are today. In addition, there are many other gods that make up the mortal pantheon. These include Onshan, god of the sky, Théoden, god of war, Lupoku, god of mischief, Gaia, goddess of earth, Vrakor, god of fire, Aurelia, goddess of love, and Vekreth, god of scorn. It is this pantheon that the majority of the races in the Feylands worship and revere. Sadly, however, other than the occasional bit of writing or dialogue, not much else is known about these gods, but there are some small bits of lore that can give us a better understanding of the gods and their relationships with not only the mortals, but also other powers as well. Our first story comes from an item known as the Sacred Tract. In this story, Vekreth, a god that normally hates everything, accidentally gazes upon the love goddess Aurelia, filling the scornful god with uncharacteristic passion. Aurelia has long wanted the distant god to love her, but she knows the powerful Matharu would never allow it, so she convinces the mischievous Lupoku to help her. Lupoku whispers to Matharu that his 7 singing bells stopped ringing, and so the thick-witted Matharu went away to check on the bells, giving the 2 gods time to unite. It is said that because of this, love and hate have always been connected, and it is also why the followers of Matharu are so cold and distant from the passions of the world. Now this stirs up some questions. Is the great Matharu really dumb, or was this tract written by mortals in an effort to paint his followers in a negative light? The answer is probably a little mix of both. While it is possible that Matharu is not as all-powerful as the Almain declare him to be, remember, it is in his name and power the ancient Arathi, the first rulers of the world, created history's mightiest empire and kept back the powerful tides of Niskaru chaos. Matharu is definitely one of the more powerful, or at least one of the most involved, gods in Amalur's history. Throughout the game, however, many citizens and criminals mock the religion of Matharu, but this is likely out of their frustration towards Matharu's overly rigid rules and imperialism. Because of the growing influence of humans, particularly the Almain, it is very likely that we will see conflicts arise between the strict followers of Matharu and the other religions that it seeks to conquer in the near future. Our next story comes from lore stones found in the Hollowlands, a set known as the Flight of Syena. In this story, the world is burned and scorched, particularly in the lands of Tyr, forcing most of the races underground in fear. However, a powerful creature known as Syena, likely a Fae, emerges from the arcane veil and supplies shade and water to the land. However, this angers a deity known as Helios, Lord of the Sun. Helios asks Vrakor, patron god of fire, for some of his flame to use to kill Syena and dash her bones into the desert. So, what impact does this story have? Well, firstly, it supports my theory that the Fae did not come into the mortal world until after some of the other races. The world was scorched and barren until Syena emerged from the arcane veil, and it was by her power life was given to the desert, much like the Summer Fae. We also learn another interesting fact. Strangely, Helios is not a patron god, but is actually a titan, like those worshipped by the Colossi. However, he still reaches out to one of the patron gods when he asks Vrakor for enough fire to kill Syena. If the narrator can be trusted, this means that the patron gods and the titans actually exist together rather than contradicting one another. And there is one last question we need to ask ourselves about the patron gods and their relationship with the other powers of Amalur. Are the patron gods the creators of the world? Unfortunately, we may never know. But there are many sources of information that point to the contrary. First of all, the Fae, beings who are much more connected to the magical aspects of Amalur, do not believe in the mortal patron gods, calling them as hollow as the mortals that worship them. In addition, according to the lore stones found in the Sheed and Minotaur, the Fae worship creator beings known as the Shaper, the Carver, and the Architect. And strangely enough, these beings, unlike the Fae, were said to predate the mortals of Amalur. Our final piece of evidence comes from Aelin Shear and Ventrinio, both of whom hint that Tirnoch, one of the all-powerful dragons, is a being who has even more magical capabilities than even the gods. But before we go and completely write off the patron gods as creators of the universe, let's remember that the Arathi, the first and most powerful race in Amalur, worshipped and used the power of Matharu to fight the Niskaru invasion, meaning that the gods stretch back even farther than we realize. In addition, the Fateless One actually speaks to Athene herself, and though she requires the Fateless One's help, she is far from being a mere fairy tale. Whether or not the gods are the creators of the universe or even the most powerful beings in the universe remains to be seen, but the patron gods are truly working in the world of Amalur. And that about does it for today's video. The gods of Amalur have always been one of the most interesting aspects of the game's lore, and I'm glad I've finally been able to address some of their mysteries. But what do you think? Are the gods the creators of the universe? Are they perhaps simply a single pantheon in a wide array of titans and other deities? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and remember to drop a like and subscribe so my channel can grow. Feel free to comment what you would like to see next, new videos regularly. God bless!